Hey there, Cheesemeisters, and welcome back to the Peach Pod After Dark. I am Jeff. I'm officious and dull. I'm always making profound observations I've overheard. And joining me on the other end of the internet, my cuz-host.
I'm Leslie, not to be confused with Leslie Karen. And I think I need some champagne.
Well, I agree. I think everybody needs to drink. This week, we are talking about An American in Paris, the 1951 Vincente Minnelli Technicolor tap dancing masterpiece and 1951 Best Picture, starring Gene Kelly, Leslie Caron, Oscar Levant, and a shit ton of Paris lookalike sets. We are watching this in conjunction with season 3, episode 5, Shooting Star / American in Paris. Not An American in Paris, copyright infringement, American in Paris. Our spelling connection is Gene Kelly and Leslie Caron.
I think you're right that it's Caron, and I'm really embarrassed that I said it
No, I don't
super
know.
American. But I'm going to go with Caron.
Caron. They were both on episodes of The Love Boat. And so I was telling somebody that we were doing this movie, and he was like, "What's the spelling connection?" I'm like, "You've never seen The Love Boat if you didn't immediately assume Gene Kelly was on it." Because he's exactly the type of former celebrity, former star that would have shown up on The Love Boat in their older age. So that's what brings us here today. All right, neither one of us had seen this movie before.
No, which is odd for me. I don't know about you, but it was odd for me that I'd never seen it.
I have seen musicals. And by musicals, I don't mean like go to the theater, see a musical. Yeah. I mean MGM Technicolor musicals. I've seen some of them.
I was raised on those.
Okay, so we're going to have to talk about that because I don't know if these are any good or not. So we're going to have to figure that out.
Okay.
Because this is an interesting movie.
Yes.
So it was Best Picture in 1951. And I feel like that is based solely on the last 17 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
Because everything that happens up till that point, although like I'm going to say this and then I'm going to end up like completely undercutting it with everything I talk about.
Of course.
But everything that happens up till that last set piece isn't it. I'm not even sure what it is. You know?
It's about artists. It's about I was trying to like
it is.
I think it is. I think it's about artists and different types of artists. You have the artist who is working. You have the artist who wishes he was working.
Okay.
At least for money. He's working on his own shit, but he's pretty miserable because he's not getting hired anywhere.
Right.
And then you have the artist who is doing it for the love of it. Oh, you want to pay me? I don't know. I'm just doing this because I love it. Shut up. Shut up with that nonsense.
Right.
If you love it, great. Just don't make the rest of us feel bad for wanting to get paid.
Right. Yeah. I mean, sure, those things are in this movie, but it's not about that. Like if it's about anything, and this movie has almost no plot.
Agreed.
You know, like there's these 3 dudes. One's a piano player, one's an artist, a painter, one's a singer. They know each other kinda, and 2 of them fall for seemingly the only woman who lives in Paris.
Yes.
And that's it. Like eventually they figure this out and she chooses one of them. Like
that's slightly more plot than Cats.
Yeah, but I don't think that if I was sitting here talking to you about Cats, I would be talking about anything except for Release the Butthole Cut.
I know.
Like that's all I would,
Yeah.
Rum Tum Tugger? Oh, that sounds dirty.
It
does. That would, I think that's my contribution to Cats. That and the SNL skit about the did you ever see, it was in the late 80s, and the biggest hit on Broadway was, I can't remember the guy's name, but like the Great Martelli, and he was a hypnotist,
No.
and it was the like the commercial for it, and they would lots of interviews with people who had just come out of the show, and like the people on the street, couple standing there just left the theater. What'd you think of the movie, or what'd you think of the play? And every single one of them said, I loved it. It was much better than Cats. I'm going to see it again and again. And it's just awesome. So that's what I would contribute to a conversation about Cats. Um, so like from a plot perspective, I mean, the characters of these artists, and I think it would have been interesting if there would have been more about this patron that Gene Kelly picks up on the street and wants to like fund his art, and he doesn't want to feel like a whore, and like it felt like it was going someplace
It
with
did.
that, and then
It became about this strange love story, which wasn't really a love story,
no,
like most musicals, and I love musicals. The love story is really it's built on thin ice.
yeah, and also this one's built on a little bit of creepiness,
Oh,
because
yeah.
like thin ice, creepiness, and obligation.
Yeah. Oh my God, the
Because
coercion of it was so upsetting.
yeah, well, I mean, like I don't know if what's his ass Henri is um is coercing her, but
He
I know that she feels obligated.
and that's enough. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, this is going to be so challenging because again, all of the characters are fairly one note. So
Hmm.
to make any sort of assumption about them is again not built on much. Um, he's just a happy guy. He seems to think that he's fallen into this relationship like, oh, someone I was protecting, she
Hmm.
now loves me. Like it's very
Right.
strange.
Now that she's old enough, she loves me.
Like the men are completely obtuse in this.
Hmm.
They're just they love these women, they pursue them in some way. Like we don't know how Henri pursued her, um,
Right.
or how she made him feel. But either way, I mean, from the moment that she said, "I I owe him my life," I thought, oh, not a great basis for marriage.
No. And then Gene Kelly was feeling the same way about his patron lady, like that he was obligated. He's like, well, I'll take her to the black and white ball. Um, the woman I want is gone, so I'll pitch woo over here. Plus, I kind of owe her anyway. Like, there was a
Except
lot of that going on.
he was so staunchly against letting her feel any sort of power or
Right.
ownership over him when she wasn't like presenting that way at all.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I feel like the reason they didn't give her more is because they were like, ooh, Leslie Caron is dancing more than she's speaking, and we don't want to have to pay more than one woman.
Leslie Caron should dance more than she speaks,
Well, yes.
because that she's a wonderful dancer as far as those things go. I'm not a ballet person. I find it difficult to watch women stand on toe. Like that looks so painful. I don't.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, whatever beauty there is totally canceled out for me by how much pain it causes.
That's
Um, I don't like it. I find it hard to watch that stuff. I'm cool watching Gene Kelly dance because it doesn't look like he's hurting himself.
funnily enough, it hurts more to walk flat footed, like to just wear the shoes,
Uh
than
huh.
it does to dance in them.
Hmm.
And I haven't danced a ton in them. I've only done a little bit, but it hurt a lot less to be on point than to just be like flat footed and wearing them.
Well, flat-footed is not good for you either.
Well, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
on the flat of your foot. On the
Right.
yes.
All of it's bad. Like, You're telling me there's not one good way to wear these shoes? Don't wear these shoes.
And yet some sicko said, you know what would be amazing? If we taught women how to dance on their toes.
Uh-huh. Yep, because they'll look like something. I don't even know what.
Swans. I don't know.
I don't know.
It will elongate the leg. It's all about elongating the leg. Always.
Yeah, that's what I'm about. Elongating things. But like, so she's a beautiful dancer, but as an actress, she's so stiff, and I didn't believe that she cared about anything or anyone.
She was serving face the whole time.
But the face was like there was no emotion on the face, no expression on the face. That like she had a look on her face, but it wasn't showing any sort of like. I mean, she could have been eating a peanut butter sandwich.
That's why, as I was watching this, I realized this is the beauty of musical theater, because it came from vaudeville, which was basically a variety show, and people with all their talents. You know, it was a way to branch out from opera, ballet, all the niche performances, and it was a way to bring them together. And you see that so much in this, because granted, again, we are severely missing a plot, but we see so many, like we see a concert pianist and we see that he's good at that, and that's his desire. We see tap dancing, we see ballet, singing, obviously, although for a musical there was only one good singer in this. I found that to be odd.
Henry?
I would be very curious to see how they did the stage version, because it only came out a few years ago. They had to have updated it, because I just don't think audiences will accept that flimsy of a plot today.
Well, and when the thing that's impressive about it is like one massive dance number that sprawls. I don't know how you get that sprawl contained on a stage. And if you can pull it off, then I'm sure that it's like an impressive feat.
Sure.
You know, but it's I don't know. I feel like it would not be worth watching for me.
That's fair.
I don't know that I'd be interested in it. I didn't hate this movie. I was bored with a lot of it.
Yeah.
Until the end of it, I thought I sat up and was like, and then Laura had gone to bed, like she wasn't feeling good, she fell asleep.
Aww.
And I was like, you literally missed the only part of this movie worth watching. So we watched it again the next day. Like I thought it was impressive enough to show it to her. Let's just sit down and watch the last 17 minutes of this movie, because this is a feat of filmmaking.
And it could have ended with that last image of him holding the rose. I wanted it to end there. I thought
when it comes in on the rose, and
I was like, it could end here, and I would understand why it won Best Picture.
Yeah,
but they had to add on that, because it's a musical and it's the 1950s. They were like, no, we need to see them get together, even though there's no reason that they should be together. There's no reason she should be with either of these men, like most musicals. Yeah, it was
just dancing with that one.
I didn't hate it. There were definitely moments where I thought younger me would have like fucking loved this movie, and older me is seeing the cracks, like most musicals that I grew up loving and still like, but most of them should be done in concert version now.
Well, that's true. So this, for people who aren't super familiar with sort of the MGM musical, it was like from the 1920s to the 1960s. They made 200 musicals.
Wow.
Is a lot. And they starred the biggest names, and they were directed by like names that you've heard of, like Busby Berkeley and Minnelli, and had Judy Garland and Gene Kelly
Fred Astaire.
I mean, like all these names. And the reason you know them is because this was the movie industry. For 40 years, this was basically the movie industry. Now, the one we've all seen the most, hands down, no second place, is Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that is the MGM musical that everyone has seen a million times. And if you're my age, the reason you saw it a million times is because it was one of the only movies that was on every year.
Mm-hmm.
It was on one time a year, and it was appointment viewing. It was that and The Sound of Music. Those were the two that were on once. And I guess the Ten Commandments, but I never watched it. That was always on.
Musical.
No, but it was on. It was a movie that was on.
Oh, okay.
And if you were so inclined around Easter, you could watch Charlton Heston part the Red Sea. I prefer to watch Charlton Heston walk back and forth from Mexico to the United States in brownface. That's just me.
Quick aside.
Yeah.
Another musical that was on, and this only happened when I lived in the dorms at IU. The student station during Passover had Fiddler on the Roof on, like a loop.
Sure.
And I love Fiddler on the Roof to the point where my roommate would come home and be like, "Are you still watching this?"
And you said, Jewish is fucking Tevye.
It's tradition.
That's right. 3,000 years of beautiful tradition from Moses to Sandy Koufax. You're goddamn right, I'm living in the past.
Fuck yeah.
Walter Sobchak in the house. So this was the movie industry. This was all of it, right? I mean, it wasn't everything, but it was most of the things.
It's what inspired me to pursue this.
So what's your favorite then? Singing in the Rain?
God. Yeah, it's gotta be.
I mean, that's a really good movie. Like, that has a story.
It has a story. It's a love letter to movie making.
Mm-hmm.
It's the dances are like the music and the dancing is all integral. There is, I think, maybe one part where the dream ballet kind of becomes a little murky. At least it became boring to me as a child. Now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't care. I'll watch Gene Kelly, dance wherever.
Right. On air.
Be at the DMV. I'll go watch him at the DMV. He's dead, but maybe someone will summon him. But yeah,
with 60-year-old Paul Newman.
Yay! Yeah, I love Singing in the Rain. It's such a good movie. I think that's the least controversial of them, and not even controversial. I think it's the least flimsy of plots because when I showed The Music Man to Walter, he kind of saw the evilness in a con man conning this town. And even though I've always wondered why he gets away with it, it's like it's good. It's good and bad to conning because this town comes together thanks to this guy, and yet this con man, learns nothing because he gets everyone on his side and he gets the woman in the end. And somehow he proved that his think system works.
Right.
It's very, again, like many musicals, the ending leaves you a little like, wait, what? Well, they're singing, because again, Oklahoma, Judd gets killed by Curly, and they have the briefest of courts, and they're just like, well, they're married, it's fine, we're not a state yet. We should sing about becoming a state and not worry about this promising young man's life. Yeah.
So, at what point in The Music Man does Homer drive the monorail?
I don't know. The very beginning?
And so one of the greatest. What's that?
Do you know the opening number? Because it's like.
If you do part of it, I'll know it. Yes, I'm sure.
Cash for the merchandise. Cash for the.
Oh, yeah. No, one of the greatest Simpsons episodes is the monorail episode, and it is a take on The Music Man.
I need to watch it.
You really do. There's a traveling salesman who comes to town, and he convinces the entire town that what they need is a monorail, because it put Ogdenville and North Haverbrook on the map. And
Oh.
he sings a big show-stopping number, and the whole town is convinced, and they build a monorail, and it's a whole flim flam. But it involves Leonard Nimoy and a family of possums. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a total Music Man takeoff. Oh, never mind. We're back. It
Okay.
said lost connection, then it's
Oh, yay.
back on again. I know. I was trying to think if there was more meat on the MGM bone. I mean, we could certainly talk about Vincente Minnelli's wife, and
Judy Garland's second husband.
yeah, well, I'm the husband married to her while she was being driven into the ground, starring in all of these movies.
Yep.
And the one that was married to her when she got hooked on the pills and fired, and downward spiraled, and not sure he was a great influence. But she's not in this, and this movie's not really about Judy Garland. But
Well, because unfortunately, for the longest time, listen, they called it a cattle call for a reason,
mm-hmm.
and it's not great. Like,
No,
actors were treated as commodities. They still are in some ways, not as much. But again, like, directors were probably not much better than, like, oh, I don't want to make that comparison. It's too bad. They weren't good. They were very bad people. They were abusive, all those awful things.
well, and she starred in 30 movies in 10 years in the 40s, like from the 40s to the early 50s. It was either 14 musicals or 16 musicals. The split was like right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And like she started breaking down physically because of all of this, and so they fired her. Like, and
that helps.
Yeah, they're like, because she tried to kill herself because they fired her, or they kicked her off a picture or something, and then she tried to kill herself, and then because that violated her morals clause, and they fired her, and then of course that made everything better.
She was and she was hallucinating from the drugs, because like she was supposed to be in, or maybe she was in the pirate. There's some pirate musical with Gene Kelly, and like I've heard stories from many. I watched way too many biopics and History Channel stuff about Judy Garland growing up. And yeah, she kept having like hallucinations while on that, and I think they ended up having to fire her. Like, they didn't.
Are you sure they were hallucinations, or was she just having dream sequences directed by her husband?
Right. I don't know. I've never been on that strict of a regimen. The craziest shit I've been on is steroids because I was underweight.
Oh.
Oh yeah, and I needed to beef up.
That's right. Beef guy.
Sure. Ugh. But yeah, it's a shame that like the industry that,
and by the industry you mean the business.
Yeah, exactly. The business didn't have any accountability for the fact that they destroyed her. Right. Same with many people of that time,
All they did was they went to Gene Kelly. Like that's what they did. They transitioned their musical stardom.
Oh.
They were in a couple movies together. She fell off and then just went with him.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like, I mean, I don't know that there was the same dynamic, but Minnelli got his start under Busby Berkeley, and then he directed all the movies.
Oh, that explains why he was like driving them, because Busby Berkeley was infamously abusive.
Yeah, and it was the whole setup. I mean, it was the studio system and MGM at this time. That's what it was, and it is. All right, I need to make this comparison, but I want to build up to it. So
okay,
I'm gonna I have a couple of thoughts about this movie. And the first one we sort of texted about a little bit, because we were like, why do you make this movie if there's no story? And it is it was a straight uh, IP flex. MGM owned the rights to the Gershwin's catalog
Mm.
and wanted to use it. Like, we spent all this money, we got this songbook. Everyone knows all of these songs. They're the American soundscape for the last 25 years or whatever. Let's give them to Gene Kelly and Minnelli and go.
Yeah.
And so, like, there is no story. It's just a
it's a song cycle.
It's a package to present to you these songs.
Sure.
Because hey, you like these songs, right?
Yeah.
And so for a while I'm watching this, I'm like, is this even a movie? Like, without a story, without real character development, with not a ton of dialogue.
It's a body without bones.
Yeah, like, is this a movie? Like, what makes a movie? And clearly it's a movie because it won Best Picture. Right?
What else was up against it? Do we know?
Yes, it was actually a really good year. Let me look it up.
Like, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm very curious what else was.
Okay, yeah. All right, I found the right year.
It's worth noting this is not the only Gershwin IP.
Right, of course.
Like, Crazy for You is all Gershwin.
God, I remember when I used to look this up every episode. It was such, this website sucks.
Oh no.
So this was up against Decisions Before Dawn, which is not a movie I know of. A Place in the Sun, which is a movie I've heard of.
Nope.
Quo Vadis, which I've heard of but never seen, and a little movie called A Streetcar Named Desire.
Wow.
Yeah, and this one.
Oh, wow. What a slap in the face.
Well, I think Streetcar is very heavy, and this is very not.
Well, and that tells you everything about movies at the time. They were like, no, we do not want this new way. We want to keep it happy and light and fun, and we're still getting over World War II.
Right.
And the Great Depression. It's been a real shitty time. Let us.
Yeah. Give us Technicolor.
Yeah.
Right? And that's,
give us fluff.
Yeah, but like, it's also, it's impressive because, like, in order for this to be a movie without a plot or any real dialogue or characters, it has to have the other pieces, and the visual storytelling is amazing in this movie.
That's Minnelli for you.
Yeah, the use of color.
Yeah.
In all of the sequences, the dream sequences, the different musical performances, it's stunning to look at. The costume design, like all of that stuff. The music, clearly, all Gershwin-y. It is innovative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's impressive. And it ends with a set piece, right?
Wow.
Like a huge set piece, like 17-minute. Literally, I was reading up about it. That was shot on 44 sets built on the MGM lot.
I saw it was the most expensive dream ballet, too.
Yeah. So, this is the point I wanted to make. This is a Marvel movie.
Oh, sweet.
It's an IP grab, right? Although I will say the Marvel movies have much better plot.
Oh, yeah.
Much better dialogue, much better character development.
Yes.
But they are an expression, just as this was, of the technological capabilities of the time.
Yeah.
They are impressive. This is impressive in its use of color and cinematography and set design and moving through these sets and editing it all together. Like, all of those things, this is amazing at. The Marvel movies are impressive in their CGI usage. in the same technicality, in the same technical way.
Yeah.
So they're the same thing. But in 1951, that wins Best Picture.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Now musicals are not, I'm going to say they're not as revered as they used to be. Like they
I don't know.
still
I mean, they
they
still,
still
I
seem to,
mean,
they can still win, don't get me wrong. But
Chicago
like
was huge.
Chicago was huge, but that was very well done. Like that, I'm going to say something very controversial. That movie is better than the stage version.
Hmm. I've never seen the stage version, so. But the movie's good.
I mean, maybe it's Tom Wopat's fault. I don't know, but
So many things are.
so many things are. But no, that movie was great, and they do some really cool stuff that I'm not. Again, they do what Sondheim said has to happen when you go from stage to screen. The
Mhm.
story has to change. How you show it has to change. What you see on stage cannot easily transfer. And people really struggle with that, either
Right.
going from stage to screen or vice versa, or back and forth as they are doing now. I'm looking at you, Mean Girls.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm saying isn't that musicals aren't awarded now. I'm saying that the Marvel movies aren't awarded.
No, I know. I mean,
Yeah. They are today's spectacle, just as this was the spectacle of 1950. And the fact that MGM did 200 of these over 40 years, and we are 15 years into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how many movies are we up to now? 30, 40? I don't even know anymore. I've lost count.
I'm gonna say though, I don't think you realize how much musicals are made fun of. Like,
You don't think people make fun? I mean, ask Martin Scorsese. It's about.
make fun of Marvel, but I'm saying like I don't agree that like that musicals are as revered as they used to be. Like they're still, the only reason they're making money right now still is because you have blockbusters like Wicked still on
Mhm,
Broadway, and
mhm.
then they're doing the whole let's turn this movie into a musical. Like they're only staying afloat for those reasons.
I understand. Like the business, I get it. I understand.
Oh, okay.
What I'm saying is that like a a a movie, Wicked, if it's any good at all, will get nominated for Best Picture.
True.
And uh, Shang-Chi 2 will not. And the Marvel movies and the IP, the Star Wars, the Marvel, the DC, the Harry Potter, the whatever, that whole IP thing that has become the movie industry, that's what the musicals were to the movie industry in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Oh, okay.
Like, they held up the industry. They were that's the box office cash cow.
Yeah.
That's like people are and they're cheap to make. The Marvel movies are not cheap to make,
No.
but by and large they make their money back. And then some. So it's just, to me, it's the way that the current day that people complain about movie system being built around this one thing to the exclusion of almost all else
Mm-hmm.
is exactly the same as it used to be in the 40s. Only it was movie musicals, and now it's superhero movies.
Yeah.
But it's the same dynamic. And you even have MGM, you have Arthur Freed, who's like over the top of the whole thing, of all of the musicals. And then you've got Kevin Feige running the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, there is a person at the top. Now, Feige's a visionary of story in a way
Mm-hmm.
Freed is not. But you can't say that Freed wasn't a visionary
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we think of when we think of like Hollywood movies from the 40s and 50s and even up into the 60s. I mean, they fell off in the 60s,
Yeah.
but you still got West Side Story and Sound of Music and, massive hits and awarded films, but you didn't have 20 a year.
No, I mean, I feel like Disney was able to keep them up, like somewhat, but like you said, they weren't being done to the extent that they had been before. Like I think Sound of Music, I would say, is one of the last big ones that did well. Like West Side, I don't think did very well.
I think it won Best Picture.
Shit. I mean, that doesn't mean it did well in the box office, but you're. Oh.
I think it was a phenomenon, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay.
I think West Side was massive, and I mean, you've got to wait a little while, but Grease was fucking huge.
That's true.
You know, like you get and this the '70s had sort of a rebirth of these things. Like Cabaret was done in the '70s, and fucking Xanadu, and like
You get people who are being allowed to take musicals in a different way because again,
Mhm.
Cabaret is very weird and
Uh-huh.
dark. You know, Xanadu is strange.
Hmm.
Um, Grease, I don't even know how to describe Grease in this case because you know, like it's of a time.
Hmm.
It's I think it probably has a little bit of both. You know, you have the love story that you realize later on in life isn't one you should have been rooting for. You
Hmm.
have, you know, it's a jukebox musical without one single band the whole time. Like
Right.
it's of that
It's
era.
all bangers, though.
Yeah.
I mean, start to finish, all bangers. Um, Also, let us not forget Grease 2.
No, I'm fine if we forget it. I was gonna add another musical movie
Do it
that is
for our country,
no, I will
the
not.
red, white, and the blue.
The country's the last thing I will be thinking about when I do it. Um, that's England's rule. No, but like Grease is another one of those musicals that's better on screen than it is on stage.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if that has to be true or if it's just true because the movie is so good.
It's
You know?
just true because the movie is so good and the
Yeah.
stage version. I mean, Sandy is nothing in the stage version.
Right. Yeah. Well, she's not Olivia Newton-John. It's tough when you're not Olivia Newton-John.
I have to go back to Australia.
Danny, you know how it is, baby. Rocking and rolling and whatnot. That's my name. Don't wear it out. What's the matter with me, baby? What's the matter with you?
You're a fake and a phony, and I wish I'd never laid eyes on you.
Oh, she laid her eyes on you, Zook.
Oh, it's not all she laid on you. My God, why are we doing this?
Why don't we do it every episode? Um. So, yeah, I think this movie wins Best Picture because of the colors, because of the spectacle, because of the set piece, because of the fact that it doesn't feel like we're watching Streetcar.
It's
You know?
another case of the what is it? Hollywood Foreign Press, the Academy.
Yeah, this is the Academy.
Yeah, this is the Academy. It's another case where the Academy went, I felt good after this, so it should win Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
we have to consciously get people now who will consider, does this have an impact? I mean, I guess everyone has a different idea of what constitutes a Best Picture.
Yeah.
Because like
That's the thing. Like
people had problems with
what
the
moves you
artist
that?
winning. I don't remember what else was available that year. I know you didn't like it. I liked it, but I don't
I
remember.
thought it was by far the best silent film of that year. Not even close.
I thought it was cool.
I can't even come up with a second one.
But again, I don't remember what else was out that year. I'm sure I would change my mind now, but it was cool. And I kind of thought of it at some points during this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they don't like giving. I mean, you find out in the end that the reason this guy's a big silent film actor is, or why he worries he won't do well with talkies is because he has a thick French accent.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
Spoiler.
can't blame them.
Wow.
Who wants to listen to the French speak? You know who? Monsieur Rick.
I'll tell you.
He loves a French accent from Brenda Dubois. All right. Would you like to have some adventures in intimacy?
I would. I have a lot of things to say. One, did you notice how closed their mouths were when they kissed?
I did not.
Now, again, I've stated this before, I will state it again because to the to the people who are decent, it is obvious and laughable that I have to say this. And to those who don't get it, you need to do some work on yourself or listen to Aunt Leslie right now. But all kissing on stage and screen should be closed unless otherwise, good God, should be closed unless it's for like comedic purposes or some other storytelling factor. And but like the kisses in this, I mean, their mouths didn't move at all. It was
Yeah.
very much just like
Yeah.
very,
It was
you
like
know,
a dance move.
it was very formulaic. I mean,
Like you don't even put your
yeah.
hands in the ballroom, you put them close to one another. Same kind of idea.
And it's cute, but I thought, oh, you still could have made it look better.
Right.
Like, and that could have just come from a different camera angle.
Right.
But
She's very wooden, you know? In the scenes where she's not dancing, she's very stiff.
all the women had to keep their mouths tight-lipped. Like,
Yeah. I mean her whole body, but yeah, I get it. I know what you're saying.
yeah, like just very, very tightly closed mouth. It was strange. And again,
Mm.
I like even strange for the time. And I don't know, maybe it was the woodenness of the acting all around. I know I've heard the story that Gene Kelly shoved his tongue down Debbie Reynolds' throat. Not great.
No.
So maybe I forget what was first, Singing in the Rain or American Paris.
American in Paris.
Okay,
But like
maybe he got tired of all the closeness, and you know what? I don't need to conjecture why people do the things they
gotta
do.
open up my mouth, said Gene Kelly.
No, you don't.
I'm not acting unless I'm Frenching, baby. I couldn't French in the Paris movie, Frenching in this one.
And that kind of makes me think too about why I love musical theater intimacy,
Mhm.
specifically the older style. I mean, there are styles across because there are multiple musical theater genres, but for the most part, especially in the older stuff, it's dance focused. It's already choreographed and it's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, the moment when they first kiss and their hands are behind their back is so cool, and it tells such an interesting story about it tells a better story about their romance than any of the lines or anything between a dance number.
Right. Yeah.
There's this beautiful moment when they're sitting together, and again, very choreographed, but I liked it. Like she puts her hand down along her leg or like down next to her, and he takes her fingers, and they're kind of doing this little dance
Mm-hmm.
for a minute, and again, told me everything I needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you get that more easily in a musical theater setting because there is so much choreography already happening.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense.
So I love that about musical theater.
Mhm.
I love them taking aspects of life and making it cooler with dance.
Yeah.
People can trash talk all they want about West Side Story, but that fight dance choreography is cool. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love whatever, like, the snaps could be so much, and I won't go into that because that's not what we're talking about right now, but like, I don't know what, were you,
I did this,
oh, okay.
but you were looking down.
Cool.
Be cool.
Now into the tougher stuff with I want to blame it on just older movies, but the thing is this has been a trope since I don't know, since 10 years ago, less than that. Like the trope of man sees a woman that he likes and he just stares at her.
Oh, sure.
Until he finds out everything. And then he gets in her space and relentlessly, aggressively asks her out until she finally says yes. And
Right.
then all of a sudden, we get to see a charming, funny character, you know. And they do this so that you forget all of that.
Right, right.
Like, that's what was messing with me. I wrote down, how did we used to find the aggressive lead male attractive?
It
Like,
was the thing for sure.
it was the thing. And again, I wrote down, like, they distracted us with funny and charming, attractive, talented. You
Hmm.
know, like, how many men are going to sing and dance for you?
Right, and be a painter. Not for nothing. The characters,
No.
you know,
Like,
painted a lot.
and once you say yes, all of that nastiness subsides.
Hmm.
So it's telling us a very dangerous story, which of course we didn't we don't realize until either we experience this in our own lives, or we, analyze this in the day to day. We grow, we
Hmm.
philosophize, all these things. And, thankfully we are more aware of it. It doesn't mean it's immediately going away. Like, I know ICs who specifically don't want to choreograph non-consensual stuff,
Uh-huh.
and they don't just mean the violence. They mean things that are, I would say, remote to period dramas. Like the no, I cannot. Or like, sir, unhand me. That they don't want to have that kind of love story where, the man is pursuing her relentlessly, and then she finally, over time grows to love him.
Right.
And I understand that. Um, because it is harmful to keep perpetuating that kind of storyline.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean they don't happen.
Well, I mean, that storyline is the biggest soap opera moment of all time. The wedding of Luke and Laura.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I did not watch that soap opera, but I knew it was happening. I knew that thing, and I don't remember when that was, 84, something like that. Um, and their whole relationship started because he raped her.
Yeah.
And then they got married in the biggest TV wedding of all time. So that story, and that was in the 80s. So it continues.
It continues. You know, you can wrap up anything in a nice little bow, but it doesn't mean it should be treated as a present.
Right.
You
Hmm.
just like you don't have to like everything you're given, you don't have to accept the love stories presented to you.
Yeah.
Or, if you have been in a situation like this, you don't have to look back on it fondly at all. You know,
Right. Hmm.
um, and to be clear too, her relationship with Henri, we don't know enough about it. But again, this all ultimately is coercion, and coercion is not consent.
Right. Yeah.
Which a lot of people either don't know or don't think about.
Hmm.
So I wish I could understand. I think I know on the obvious level where the trope comes from, because we want to send certain messages to everyone.
Hmm.
We want to convince people this is what they want.
Right.
We want to convince people to stay a certain way. I mean, they have a kind of a crude line at one point about, like, these women, they want, they want to be in charge now, but they still want to be like treated with respect. And I thought, oh darn.
Right.
You,
Yeah. No, there was, what was it? I have to find that quote because it was something that Oscar Levant said.
it was
Um,
gross.
it was like,
To be concise, it was.
dressed like a man, wanted to be. Oh, here it is.
That might be another reason why we don't see a lot of the sponsor, because she represents the type of woman that society didn't approve of at the time.
That's possible. I mean, yeah, she was. Um. Oh, here it is. I told you the sponsor in business was complicated. You see what happens today? Women act like men and want to be treated like women.
We just covered your asses during the war, asshole. Sorry if we liked making money and being self-sufficient. Fuck right off.
I know. You're yelling at it.
Ernest, what do you do?
He plays the piano. I'm just saying you're yelling at a dead guy, but
Good. I'm glad he's dead.
Stuck it, Oscar Levant. Sean Hayes would be very sad that you just edicted that, but that's okay.
You know what?
Um,
That man also couldn't act, to be quite fair. Like, he could play
Oscar
the
Levant.
shit out of the piano.
Yeah.
That's how you knew he was really playing piano. Like, that was the one time I went, oh, I believe him now. The rest of the time, I was like,
He was very good at the piano.
very good.
Yeah. Better than me.
Same.
Better than you. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. Young George Bailey. Anything else for an intimacy?
No, that's all I got.
So here's what I want to do for Needle Drop Forest. What is your favorite, not the end of the movie, musical sequence in this movie? And I'll give you a few that
I have it.
stood out to me. I'll give you a few that stood out to me so it puts it in people's heads. I got Rhythm with the kids. I thought was really sweet. It's wonderful. The duet where they don't realize they're singing about the same girl.
Yep.
I thought that twist on it was really, really cool. The Oscar Levant's dream sequence where he's playing and directing and I mean he's everybody in it. I thought that scene was so cool.
That hit me the most.
It was really, really
like cool. I could relate so much in that moment to like you have these visions of yourself in dream roles. Doing some other, or like sometimes I dream about like what I would do as an intimacy choreographer for certain like productions of shows, and then when it all comes back to just the shot of him smoking in his bed, I went, yep.
Yeah. And then the other one that I would like to throw out there, even though it's not my choice, is the segment at the beginning where Henri is describing her to Oscar Levant, and everything he says is a different vignette in a different color to a different style of music, in a different outfit, in a different, like, it's all these little pieces that they put together to give you the whole picture of who this woman is in his eyes, that I thought was incredibly imaginative and really stunning to look at, which is like a lot of this movie. It's imaginative and it's really cool to look at. I'm not like a let me just watch ballet for 5 minutes guy, but I was very impressed with that sequence.
The funniest part of that was how confusing it was for Oscar, once dickhead,
right,
to understand nuanced women exist.
Yes. Well, he wasn't able to, in his defense, he wasn't seeing what we were seeing. He was just listening to Henri talk about it.
The cynic in me at first was like, they could have given her lines instead of this. And then I went, oh wait, no, she's a dancer. I want the dancing. I want the dancing. We don't need lines from you. We do have another woman. Give her more lines.
Right. And this is also like, this is the type of storytelling this is. We're going to tell this through movement. We're going to tell it through color.
It was fun.
Yeah. And it was really interesting. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool what they did there. So which of those things is it for you? Is it the piano dream or is it something else?
The love dance when she's in the outfit that I'm attempting to emulate tonight. And that's when they have their hands behind their back quite a bit, and that's when they lean in for the kiss. Like, I thought that was really sweet. That whole scene, I would say, until the end, is their best.
Okay.
Like,
nice.
That scene, as it gets as close as, it to hooking the fish as it can get before the finale. Yeah.
I think for me, I just, the I Got Rhythm thing charmed the shit out of me. I thought it was so cute. It's just, all you have to learn is I got. It was, it's like, what a great way to present that song. Everyone knows that song. You've heard that song a bajillion times. You've never heard it staged that way, which is what I really, and I really did like this wonderful duet. I just thought that was so, it was a way to take a song that you knew and put it in the context of a story and have it tell a different story than the one it normally tells. And I thought that worked really well.
we did an exercise kind of like that in a musical theater class in college where
Mm-hmm.
you came in with 16 bars of a song and you had to flip it on its head, like
Mm.
sing it with a completely different context.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it was so much fun. Like it was
Yeah.
really cool the stuff it could bring out of you. Like, and I mean vocally, like, and obviously emotionally, but mostly vocally. There was some cool stuff that happened.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um. All right. What else? Time. What else you got?
Oddly, oh, they didn't do this ever again, but I made a note of it in the beginning because I thought, have they broken the fourth wall in musicals before this?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they've been making musicals for 30 years almost, so probably, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I don't either. And you know, that's definitely become a thing since I mean, it's been a thing in theater since
Yeah.
the dawn of man,
It's
since
called an
people
aside.
first walked on stage.
Yeah, it's called an aside. I mean,
Yeah.
like, character turns and talks to the audience. That's what that is. So yeah, it's a part of theater
He's a
for sure.
concert pianist, which is a really nice way. Which is a wow. He's a concert pianist, which is a pretentious way of saying he's unemployed.
Yeah.
And I thought, I feel that.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah. Ah, gosh. Dance a step higher. I don't know if I have an answer to this, other than again an obvious thing. But I was thinking about like, why do we turn stories into musicals?
Um, I think at its heart, it is it. The music is almost a shortcut to the expression of the emotion,
Yeah.
and it's a different way to present the emotion. The other part of it is, um, it's it's a flex in 1929 when you movies used to be silent and now you can put sound with the pictures. You have to now sing. Like, look what we can fucking do now. Like, we couldn't sing and dance and have movies in color. Like,
Yeah.
all of this stuff is a big flex for look what we can do. You know?
No, no, no. Yes, yes, yes. No, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you don't know Singing in the Rain, then I'm sorry. The moment was lost on you. You couldn't see it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's so I think that's part of it. I think it's like it's the same reason that like the reason boxing was like a really popular sport is because it was easy to film.
Oh, okay.
You know, like you
Did not
set a
know
couple
that.
cameras up and you're good. It's all contained. You know, baseball's hard because the ball moves and people move and the action changes and baseball's difficult. Boxing is easy, especially in, you know, the 1900s. And so easy to do, put it on film, put it in a theater, you can do it. This is like it's the technology driving the popularity. You know, the
Okay.
technology now of being able to do a song and a dance in Technicolor, these big set pieces, um, all of this pageantry. Because we can do it, we're going to show you how well we can do it. I think that's part of it.
One, I don't know if this is the last thing, but I thought of this. I was watching the Dream Ballet earlier, and I thought I thought he's tap dancing, she's on point. How interesting. He's
Mm-hmm.
an American, he's tap dancing. She's French and doing ballet. Like Americans are perceived as loud
Mm-hmm.
and boisterous. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
whether or not that's how they meant it. I mean, there I feel like there's definitely meant to be the line of like, well, tap dancing comes from America. Don't quote me on that. And, you know, ballet is perceived to have come from France. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then you add in these other layers to it and it's just really cool. Like you do not see duets done like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's really cool. This is very
Yeah.
cool. Is this anyone in this movie's defining role?
Leslie Caron, for sure.
Is it not Gigi?
I think so. See, Gigi's another one I haven't seen. Definitely
I
another
just
one
know it
from
exists.
Yeah. Uh, I know they like did a revival on Broadway years ago. I don't know. I'm gonna stick with this one. I think this is Leslie Caron's
Okay, it might
big
be.
thing.
It might be. I don't think it is for anybody else.
No.
You know, like Gene Kelly did bigger things. Obviously, he did so many things that, like, to me, because we did On the Town my junior year of high school as our spring musical. Like, was he Gaby? I don't remember which one he is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
Gaby. I love On the
yeah,
Town.
in just one day, that was another. There was also a Simpsons episode where they do an On the Town reference. So, thumbs up for the
Uh,
Simpsons and their musical theater love.
awesome.
All right, what is this the EST of for you?
Wow. I mean, it's got the longest dream ballet.
Yeah, yeah. And mine's
I
the
would
same. I mean,
say
it's the most
the
impressive.
weightiest. Yeah, it's the weightiest dream ballet because from this dream ballet is how they get the Oscar. It's got the most sets of any dream ballet, the highest cost. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, it's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean that Toulouse-Lautrec painting recreation is so
Uh-huh.
dope. Oh,
Yeah. All of it is fucking amazing. Like you just sit there and you're like, the whole time. You're
yeah,
just jaw. You're just like, this is amazing. Whatever. Give them all the prizes. This is great. Like
yeah,
it saves the movie because up to that point, I was like I said, I got rhythm. I liked this wonderful. I liked the concerto, piano concerto and F sequence. I thought that was all really cool. But the movie it was a snoozer until that.
yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, this is, oh.
Oh my god.
That's how much I loved that. It was the nipple rubbingest part of the movie.
This was your Paul
Right.
moment.
No, it's not even anywhere close to that. But
Oh,
because that is some pedestal shit right there for you. That's up there. Yeah, this doesn't reach those levels. I think we did it. I think we proved my theory once again that everything comes back to Aaron Spelling. Even Americans in Paris.
yeah.
Multiple. Monsieur Rick and this fella.
Brenda Dubois.
Brenda Dubois. I mean, I guess like she's choosing between two men. I don't even want to with the 90210 of it for this episode.
You don't have to.
Yeah. All right. So join us next week, Cheesemeisters, when we are going to learn a little bit about the inner workings of the music industry as prompted by Steve Sanders Management Company. And we're going to watch. All right. We're not the Wonders anymore. We're Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. We're going to watch that thing you do, everybody. Yep. I'm excited. I really like this movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so it's really fun.
Ah, the Oneatas.
I like the Oneaters. They're pretty good.
Ah, so good. I'm gonna run through the streets like Liv Tyler.
It's and that song, god damn, that song is so good. All right, we're going to talk a lot about that thing you do next week.
Yep, next week.
Yep. But we're getting all excited about it now, so that's fun. Until then, cheers.